Hi guys, today I'll be reviewing Jean Grey after her new 52 review in Marvel Heroes 2015. In this review, she is finally able to use all of her skills, including the ones in the Phoenix Tree, a new signature, and a new ultimate. As all of you would know, Jean Grey is a caster-based character with mental and energy-based damage. The mental would come from her telepathy and her telekinetic abilities, while the energy actually comes from her Phoenix Tree. She is still a pure glass cannon, I would say, something like Storm in Marvel Heroes, who is also a glass cannon. So, if you are planning to play as Jean Grey, I would have to say you will not be able to like withstand a high amount of damage from the enemies. Let's talk about her strength first. I would have to say that her biggest strength in this review is the higher damage rating that hits a wide area of effect. So basically, she still plays like how she used to play, basically as a street sweeper. She now has two different stances. She can play as you can play her as Mental Jean and also as the Phoenix Jean. Uh, and finally, she is capable of dashing in both forms. Previously, uh, the Phoenix Dash is the Phoenix Charge is only able to be used by Phoenix players, but now you can dash around and avoid damage by playing as Mental Gene as well. She still has a lot of party buff, which includes Spirit Regeneration, critical rating, and defense. She has a lot more crowd control option. I would say, such as stun. She can slow, and she can also confuse the enemies much better than previous build. She still has a auto revive, but now it has been the cooldown has been lowered down from 10 to 5 seconds. She has low spirit management, at least so far, based on my build. And she has a very damaging ultimate and a Dark Phoenix buff, which you can use in both Phoenix and Mental Gene form. And she has a very high damage with low cooldown signature. However, I would have to say that her big weaknesses come from her low durability with low health and low defense. I think due to the loss of mental focus, her defense has been reduced by a lot. Still requires a lot of kiting. I would have to say she requires more kiting right now when soloing against bosses. However, thanks to the dash, it is now uh, the kiting part of the gameplay is actually much easier compared to last time. She has been nerfed in terms of shorter attack range, and she now has a smaller radius on most of her area of effect skills. In terms of my build, I'm currently using mental damage with AoE range attacks. I'm focusing more on high critical chance build and also a lot of health buff, where I'm actually using the Cosmic Sabertooth Medallion instead of the Dr. Octopus basically. Okay, so let's talk about her skills. I am still using Psychic Hammer as her basic range attack. This is due to the stun, and it also explodes on impact, so it's actually good when, for example, you are low on spirits or something, so you might want to use Psychic Hammer while your spirit regenerates. Uh, I'm also using Psychic Liturgy on my left click because of it is basically crowd control skills that inflicts low on movement speed and damages over time. This is basically very necessary in my opinion as the opening attack of every mob encounter because the slow movement debuff is actually good, especially when it comes to kiting the enemies. One skill that I'm using here is the Neural Panic. Previously, Neural Panic is quite useless because of the enemy resistance to confusion. However, I would have to say it is much better after her new 52 review because it does not just inflict confusion on the enemies, which causes them to attack each other for 5 seconds. Now it also inflicts damage over time on the enemy, same as Psychic Lethargy. I'm also using Mind Crush at times, depending on what kind of enemy that I'm facing. Mind Crush previously just stuns the enemies for a few seconds, but now it also inflicts invulnerabilities, and also it decreases the enemy defense by 10% for 6 seconds. Other than that, if you are playing as Mental Jean, Mind Crush will grant lifesteal to Jean Grey on hit for 6 seconds. Okay, so let's talk about her signature. Her signature is Crushing Telekinesis. In It's basically a signature move that deals high AoE damage within large radius around her, where basically she will leave all type of enemies, no matter whether it's a big type or a small type or even bosses, and slamming them back down to the ground. So the animation for this signature is actually quite cool. Previously, she is unable to do this, but now after the test center build, they basically changed the animation to something like this, which I find to be much better compared to the first one they showed on the live stream. Uh, she has a new single target damage, I would say now, single target damage skill, which is called as telekinetic throw, where it basically inflicts 40% extra damage against bosses and elites. The good thing about this skill is that it's not just due to the high single target damage, it also pierces through all enemies in a straight line. Uh, However, really quite it can be quite troublesome for you to use because you have to like channel it for quite some times, and while she's doing this skill, she it you have to aim it at the same time. You can't exactly uh hit and run with this skill because it takes some time for her to actually throw the rocks towards the enemies. But it's actually still very good if, for example, you're in a party and the enemy is not focusing on you or something. I'm still using Psychokinetic Implosion as my one of my card control skills, because basically she's still capable of pulling all enemies into an area, so it makes it much easier for you to inflict further additional damage on the enemies when they are close together. As I've said, Phoenix Charge is something that she can use now, not just in her Phoenix stance, but also in her mental stance. So you might want to get this. You should at least have this to help you kite against bosses in solo fights. Another new skill that she obtained in this review is the Dark Phoenix buff. Basically, it's a steroid buff that gives spirit cost reduction, large bursts of AoE damage, and damage buff for like 15 seconds if you are playing as Mental Jean. If, for example, you are playing in the Phoenix stance, she will transform into the Dark Phoenix mode, where she will gain entirely different skills, which is specialized towards the Dark Phoenix side. I've heard a lot of uh, complaints on the Dark Phoenix mode when you are using it as Phoenix, but I'm not entirely sure because I don't really play much as the Phoenix stance. As the Phoenix stance. Her new ultimate is still have the same name, which I find to be very disappointing. I mean, they can actually change the name at this, since it's entirely new ultimate compared to the one she had last time. Previously, she gains damage buff, and also um, yeah, she gained damage buff and also damages enemies over time. But now, uh, in terms of the buff, is still the same because the ultimate buffs her maximum health, her spirit, her defense, and damage rating. But now it inflicts a higher amount of damage, where I would have to say it's around 18,000 damage twice per second at level 1 alone. So it's actually a very powerful damage. However, uh, the effect of damage is only around her, so you might have to get close to the enemies in order for you to at least do you know damage continuously do damage on the bosses or on the enemies themselves. Okay. um yeah, that's about it for now, I would have to say. Overall, I would like to say that she is much better when compared to how she used to be last time. I enjoy playing her more, and I'm hoping that their characters will also receive something as good as this in the future. I guess that's all for today. Okay, see you guys next time. Bye bye.